our renowned supportive learning program is also included in the PT core. Join your cohort for regular scheduled Zoom sessions discussing all the topics from each unit with quizzes, group activities and live Q&As with me, Luke and the PTC team. So you can grow your network with like-minded trainers wanting to better their businesses and offering. Go to theptcollective.com and make sure you sign up for our supportive program.
Welcome back to part 2. I don't know what it was actually called, part 1. Let's say the course creation.
Of course creation, yeah. Part 2 of course creation for the PTC. And if you want to create your own course.
Yeah, I was saying why we stepped out and had a nice little lunch. Pokey, it's just called pokey. It's not called poke bowl, is it? You just have bowls.
A bowl, poke bowl.
Poke bowl.
Yeah. I mean, Luke is a chicken. Crazy. Crazy. I thought the whole point was having some nice sushi.
Yeah, but we all know
sashimi is it really is.
That I have a sushi from Tesco's.
You said that to me on Wednesday. Yeah. He was like, I'm a Tesco sushi kind of guy. I was like,
I don't even like sushi, really.
Oh, I love sushi. It's so good.
Sorry. Well, at least people either love or hate. They either love you now or hate you. Probably just
Marmite?
hate me.
Marmite?
Marmite.
Love or hate?
I probably tried it and hated it, hence why I probably haven't remembered.
It's so good. It's so good. All right, just top tip. Scrambled eggs. Put some Marmite on your bread or your roll when you're having it, your scrambled egg or your toast. Put the scrambled eggs in. Oh.
Is Marmite on what they called? Twiglets?
Yes.
Okay. I've had Marmite then. There we go. Twiglets.
That's a very soft version of
I was going to say, yeah. Twiglets
it's kind of introductory stage to Marmite.
They're a Christmas food.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to part 2. So you've created your course, you've put all the planning into it, you've created it, and you're like, yep, I've done that. Now you've got to actually edit the content. So we've got Gigi working on the video edits. At this point, we're looking at our scripts, which can come in real handy when we basically copy and paste that over to the other folder, which is the videos, which will have proof videos, edited videos ready for design, and final videos. So it'll go through that process. But again, GG's going to edit the video. We're going to check it back to make sure I don't swear or there's no things that he's missed, which he has missed on a few occasions.
Yeah.
To make sure that we don't leave that in the final edit, because we then need to create a design brief that the designer is going to work with. So they're going to download the video. And that takes quite a bit of time, doesn't it? Like going through a 2,000, 3,000 word script and going, well, what should I put in? I'm taking long form copy and trying to put that into bullet points, or maybe demonstrating you want to discuss a table or a graph and you've got to put that into words.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. And you kind of get a learn of the rhythm of speech as well. So I speak quite fast. I think when I lecture, I have to slow down slightly. So, and so when me and Luke used, he gave me his settings for the teleprompter. That did not work. That does not work. You cannot do that. You cannot translate
even
people.
Like the font size though.
Font
my
size,
eyes are quite bad.
Luke's eyes are bad. Mine are not lovely. So on I have quite small text, and I tend to read ahead. So I know basically what's coming, and I speak quite quickly. But yeah, I'm about 8 minutes per 1,000 words, I believe. I stick around there. So I can tend to be like, when Gordon's like, how long is this one going to be?
You know.
I know pretty much, to the minute how long each one is going to be every single time.
That's just repetition of putting the reps in.
Yeah, you only learn that. But yeah, then I can look at, like, obviously normally it's 500 words per A4 page is pretty standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Therefore, how many A4 pages? If I'm writing a 2,000, I've got, you're like, all right, just done a 2,000 word script. It's like,
It goes quick though, doesn't it? Like after the first few times, and then after a while you tried the old voice dictation, didn't you? How did?
Correct. Yeah. So
I tried that.
I mixed and matched. So I started typing, and then I was like, I'm so not used to this. I'm so used to speaking, being on podcasts and talking in workshops and doing like that. So I was like, I'm going to try dictating because I'm going to be talking this anyway. Because one of the great things about doing videos and lectures like this is you don't have to write it perfectly, because you're writing it as if you were talking.
Not a blog post.
It's not a blog post to be read, which is fantastic. Otherwise, we'd still be going like now on script writing.
It would also...
It would take away our personalities as well.
It wouldn't come across like you're presenting it. You'd sound literally like
one of the
you're reading the
points
blog
is that
post.
me and you are coaching it as well, which is one of the things. So yeah, I've forgotten where I was.
We was looking at the design brief. So again, it's taking those long-ass scripts and then trying to work out, and prior to this, we're then working with Craig and Marina from We Are Fit Creative, and we're creating design templates based on previous experience of courses and going, what are we actually going to capture and what design templates and assets do we need? So which ones work for the gym? Which ones will work for the studio? Is it going to be coming in from the left or the right? And that, once we've got that in place, obviously myself and Tom, when we're going through the videos, we're not just thinking when we're creating a course of just teaching, we're thinking, how's that visually, got to look ahead to how's that visually going to look on the final product. So you create those design briefs. We then originally sent them over without any timestamps, and freelance designers can not be cheap, and if it means they have to watch the videos, and then the other thing then is they're trying to work out where that bullet point or that point comes in, or when it comes out. So then that added an additional step to the process. So you could create a design brief, and I don't know if you found this like I found it. Once you watch the video back and you're time stamping it, there's a bit of, you go, there's 2-3 minutes without any design.
Yeah, and you feel like
maybe I should add something to it.
Fill that space somehow, or should they just be? I really understand. And then obviously I had the back and forth. I think it was back and forth with you. And then when we first started looking at these and they came back, I was like, the text is coming on. I didn't like it when the text gradually came on from my learning point of view, because I like to know what I'm about to learn as well and get in my headspace for that. I didn't enjoy it suddenly appearing when I said squat, and then squat was boom, and it's on, and I'm like, okay.
It's probably different for both of us. Like if you fine tune, like look at it, you'll see actually, Tom, some of the times based on, say you're addressing 4 points, they could be listing 4 things, or they could be stating one thing and talking about it for 20-30 seconds. So again, it's looking at the timing of what to do.
I tended to prefer most of my stuff being like, if there's a topic I'm talking about, all 4 bullet points will be on the screen throughout that. And be like, all right, then you can move through them at your own time. And I think you liked it would come up when you're talking about it and been like that. Yeah, so I've just different opinion.
And they're probably, I've got some lessons where, as I said, if it's 20 seconds and I'm highlighting all of the points that I want to go through, they're probably going to appear at once. If it's a 1-2 minute segment about the 4 things and I'm expanding on them, then again, so that's the thing, you're working back and forward, and it was one of those where you then don't do the design briefs, or do you do them and then wait for the video, or do you just wait for the video, check that it's not got any errors, because if it does have errors and you're starting to put the timestamps and something needs to be taken away, now the timestamps are not in sync.
Yeah, so we would go through the process of watching the video in 1.5 times speed, because you don't want to sit there and actually watch it.
Like the full little thing. Hack.
1.5 times speed, and then you timestamp in 1.5 times speed as well, and just like have dual screen. Do not ever do this on one screen.
No, it's hard work.
One of the biggest and most important purchases of my career during the PTC was a portable, like, different screen. Because I'm working away on the MacBook, bum, and I quickly realized, I was just like, I need dual screen big time for all of this stuff. And it's just it.
Once you go dual screen, you don't go back.
No.
It's impossible. One screen, you're like, it's all close, because you're watching a video, you're trying to look at the time, but then you're also typing on the timestamps or the actual Word document. And then when you do that, the time goes, and then you've got to click back on, and there's a lot of things that go into it. So once we've got the design briefs, we then get the designers to, so Gordon's already edited the video. And most people go, and I think even Lottie said, well, why didn't Gordon just put the design stuff onto it? Because you can get these you can add like sideways thing and then type stuff in. But then with a lot of our stuff, it requires tables or graphs or a visual aid in some way, shape or form. I know you talk about different buckets and putting things into different buckets, and I thought they was cups first one. I was like, oh no. Then when I actually listened to the lesson, I was like, oh, they're referring to buckets. You know, like your nice little iced coffee there. It's similar to that with the little bubble bit at the top. So once we've got that, the designers are then obviously downloading that. They're using After Effects. They're then putting the bullet points in, the graphs, they're illustrating them. Once that's done, they then send it over. We then look through that, make sure everything's good. If that's good, then and the thing is, we filmed everything in 4K, and there's a few reasons for that. The main one is to future-proof, because even though 4K, like the software we use, LearnWorlds, and we'll talk about that when we look at publication in just a second, will only ever show it in 1080p. But the reason why we wanted it in 4K was that in a few years' time, if the norm was 4K, we could just re-export everything at that resolution, and then do you know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, everything. Remember like VHS, then HD came out, and then 4K came out. So if you compare like 4K to just non-HD
Remember
TV.
with the battle of like Blu-ray and HD?
Yeah.
That was weird. I didn't really understand. Everybody was like, no, we shouldn't do. Blu-ray kind of died out.
You go, wow. Yeah, well, I still think the PlayStations that have that functionality on it. Most people just have an older PlayStation just for the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And they're more expensive. So so then 4K, why am I saying 4K? Because 4K file sizes for Tom talking for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, again, I reckon the average lesson time is probably 10 minutes. I think across
so.
the
10
across
to 15,
the board.
yeah.
And so that we're uploading that to SharePoint. So then you've got remote workers. You've got, do they have good internet? The designers are then obviously downloading the 4K, but then when they upload, currently we're uploading at 1080p. So that's just the videos. Then we're looking at additional resources. So part of Unit 5, the programming, Tom was like, oh, do you want me to like create the programs? Because you refer to them in
I do refer to them.
Refer to them and like, okay, yeah, we haven't got them yet, so we need to design this. So you did 36 weeks worth of programs over 5 different goals for the student. So again, whenever you're looking at a course, what do you get extra? Are you just paying for screen recording? Do you get a certification at the end? How much weight does it have within the industry? Who's teaching it? Like all the stuff we've looked through. So then we're creating additional resources, like the programs for my stuff, spreadsheets on like finance and stuff like that. So you're building those additional resources, and we'll continue to build them.
Yeah.
Because we'll get feedback from our supported program, which we'll touch base on soon, from the students. And again, it goes back to you think this is what people want, but then they come up with some really good ideas and go, oh, this would be more helpful. So you're building out those resources and getting those in place. And then the actual assessment process itself. So,
but luckily on those resources, I do have a backlog of different things. But it still took me a while, especially the programming, right? Anybody knows that programming can be an absolute pain. But I sent it over to Luke, not in a raw method. I think most of the people would have been fine with it, but we were like, we need to brand this up.
But we said, do we brand or do we not brand? Is it white label? And I was like, just give it to me. I'll get rid of the grid lines. I'll make it look pretty.
It's funny, yeah, because I like the grid lines and Luke hates the grid lines. So on grid lines, to me, the grid lines suggest order, and I'm quite ordered how I do things.
But then I don't disrespect
you still had them on certain things. Yeah,
you highlight. You just add the whatever lines thingy majig in. You just go, I just want those areas. Yeah. I don't want the background.
Death by Excel.
Gray.
But yeah, it's nice to have, because I have 12 months worth of programming for each of my clients already ready to go, and that's based off phases. So that's just what happens. And I just had to sit there and go, all right, I've got a brain dump for the next 4 or 5 hours on these and make sure they go. And then obviously the screening templates that we give that kind of performance-based stuff. And then we give like mock questionnaires and stuff like client onboarding for 2 types of those. And then we
copy and paste, do this, do that. Here's some additional
bosh.
resources that you could use, like Calendly, to get the pre-consult and stuff like that. Now we have got like the assessment process here. So it's a weird one because that's probably the planning phase, but the reason why it's here is because we're reviewing the content that's actually been captured, and it's going, how can we, when PTC is the brand, and we don't want any trainer basically representing the brand if they haven't put the work in and are cut above the rest of the industry. So it's really important to then create the assessment process. And for me, it was looking at, well, I want this to be able to be, one, from a business perspective, a scalable business, of course, so it's not predicated on a specific location or country.
Yeah, so the people, guess what? The people who have no kind of business brain will be like, it has to have all in-person elements. Yeah. All exams must be. It's like, all right, well, show me the money. Like that's not scalable.
And we're living in 2021.
Yeah.
And we just had a lockdown, and bricks and mortar businesses have suffered dramatically.
Correct. Yeah.
So that was the task of creating the assessment. And what we wanted to do was, even in the States though, you can become a certified PT with just doing a multiple choice exam with no in-person whatsoever.
Just obviously you have to have a degree, but you can be a certified strength and conditioning specialist across the globe, apart from this country, where they're the UKCA, worst governing body ever. And it's just a multiple choice exam. That's all it is. There's no practical element. You have to have a predicated degree before it, so it's prior learning. But yeah, just that.
But that person could just pass an exam and not actually know how to coach or 100%. Even perform an exercise themselves.
Many trainer that has a bachelor's degree and cannot coach at all.
So from our perspective then, it's going, well, we want to make it harder. So most qualification assessments are like 70%. That's the level 2, level 3. So I'm like, well, this is 80%. And then we also wanted to add a sort of show me, tell me, like a hazard perception thing.
Hazard perception, that's how we put it, as hazard perception, like on your driving tests.
Yeah.
Like you get that video and you have to spot what's going wrong.
Yeah.
Is the idea. And we're like, everybody knows that, and we'll be able to do that. And it's something that, this is again where I think a background in doing a ridiculous amount of courses. Yeah, I've been exposed to a lot of examination processes. I used to be super, super nervous about. I failed a few of my vivas, and people wouldn't know what vivas are. It's basically, here's a skeleton, here's 3 things, talk about it 15 minutes in front of me, please.
Yeah.
I'd imagine most of our students would run away from me if I asked them to do that.
Be scared.
So doing this kind of stuff it'll be quite fun as well. Once they're fun if they're doing it, because they've got to pass the exam.
It'd be fun if you pass.
You're watching a video and then you have to notify what's happening. So you actually you're learning about coaching and you're visually
seeing it rather than is it A, B, C, D? Watch this video and does Tom at this timestamp use an internal or external cue what dysfunction? If you can easily see like a zoomed in version of someone's knees caving in.
What's the main dysfunction happening? Or what is the priority?
And then building upon that.
Yeah.
So what exercise would you give them as the starting exercise, or is this a mechanical or coaching issue? And stuff like that. So we've got a 3-part process, and then the other one is actually what Tom wanted is I want to actually see if the person can.
I want to see. That this. Some people may disagree with me with this.
Come at him in the comments.
But please come at me. That's absolutely fine. I'm a big believer that the coach should be able to move in the way they intend the client to be able to move. So, because one of my biggest things when I teach in my workshops is, guess what? Your demonstration is 90% of your coaching, because that client is copying you. Believe it or not, doesn't matter what you say, really. They might be thinking monster trucks or what they're doing later. But if they watch you do something perfectly and their stuff is crisp as hell, they are doing that. One of the biggest people who believes in this and is the most immaculate demonstrations is a lady called Nicole Rodriguez, and somebody we should have on the podcast.
Sort it out, Tom. You got a connection?
I have got a connection. I've gone to a 2-day workshop with her.
Yeah. She paid the money, so she's more likely to come on.
That's correct. But yeah, go watch her and go watch how she coaches and watch how she speaks. It's immaculate, and how she moves. It's like bam, 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 bam. She's at Borussia Dortmund now. But it's so good. So that was a big process of me. I wanting to move and coach, basically. And in that, so like a 5 to 10 minute video submission of them, it gets them coaching on a screen, which is great for, guess what, online content and talking to clients.
Yeah.
And getting them talking to camera as if they were talking to me or talking to you or talking to their client. And they're going to have to move on camera, which is probably what they're going to have to do on exercise demonstrations.
Yeah, so I think that's
insane.
maybe a prerequisite to actually training people in person. So,
So I understand you don't like. I by all means, I'm not expecting anybody to look like a cover model.
No.
Look at me. Gee.
Look at sorry.
But
I got shredded once in 2017. I
guess
stepped on
what?
stage.
I want the person to be able to move and probably coach it properly. So, or have a vague like ability to do it. So yeah, that's a big factor for me.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to teach something practical, then visual people will just learn it better. Like imagine trying to explain a squat by a recipe.
So there's literally, I do a workshop, internal and external queuing, and one of the things that so at Third Space is in the first week of onboarding, I randomly select about 2 of the students and go, and when we're doing through coaching our physical preparation, I say, you have to coach with your hands behind your back now.
Yeah.
And you cannot deny. So they're literally standing there, hands behind back,
like they've been
coaching like client. And they're like, this is so hard. You just have to use this, like describing words, and it's just like, do it, try it, see what happens. It's bonkers.
I think before we touch base on publication of the course and like what we use, how we upload it to the website, how it's secure and stuff like that, is to touch base on the supported program. Now, when you sign up to other courses, it's here's your username, here's your password, off you go. Do it or not. I've got your money. I don't really care if you actually
got your money. Yeah.
Go through the course and become a better trainer or a better hairdresser or a better cook or whatever the topic is.
Those are the last 2 courses you did, like hairdressing. Oh, course of lockdown. Correct. Yeah, it must have been.
Oh,
Luke
mate. Yeah.
Became a barber
YouTube.
for his kids.
Yeah.
And
poor
then,
kids. They had the Peaky Blinders haircut. Well, Lenny did. Lywood's still young, so her hair's not long enough. Well, it's long, but.
And yeah, you did cookery. Yeah, that was a good time through lockdown because. Like we did a lot of cooking, lots and lots of cooking, trying new things. It was nice when you could get hold of the produce.
Yeah, that was the
and
the toilet roll,
start, right? Toilet roll. I mean, we did well at that because both me and Chloe the week prior had bought 12 packs each. So we were sorted.
So you're one of them, are you? Them holders of
toilet
roll.
We didn't mean it. We'd done our shopping. And that was in our shopping basket.
It was good timing.
It was just, cracking timing.
Yes. So during lockdown 1, talking about lockdowns, we created the supported program. So we have students going on doing their level 2, level 3. And the first one, I think, I don't know, one weekend or in the shower or doing something that wasn't work, like wasn't thinking about work. And I thought, why don't you become a PT during lockdown? Even though I know that they needed to be in person to do an assessment. From a marketing perspective, that's what we called it. We did 3 sessions per week, which was a lot, in 5 weeks. And they basically went through their level 2 content, their level 3 content, passed both exams at both levels, because they're easy, pretty easy to pass. And that sort of really... In the SBS Academy days, you drip fed it each week, and we used to have a live session at the end of each module, which might have been 18 weeks on module 1 and 10 weeks on module 2 and 3. And the supported program, what we noticed was it created that community. It created, and that sounds cheesy, the collective where the students came together. They all had one aim for the level 2, level 3, and that was to get qualified to maybe change profession, because that, again, lockdown gave people time to reflect on maybe what was important, what's not that important when things get taken away. So we created the supported program, and that's just now a staple of everything that we do. So you don't have And during those supported programs, so maybe Tom, go through what does the actual supported program look like?
Well, I think it's massive, isn't it? Because I never go, but I was like, call out to all of the PT core people. I was like, you signed up for the supported program. I want you there, no matter where you are on the course. And everybody, obviously I taught some of the level 2, level 3 ones as well. And just the community aspect of it and being with like-minded individuals all pulling in the same direction is massive. And it's something a self-employed coach just doesn't have. I'm fortunate enough to work in a brand where I'm literally paid to bring people together to talk about our training and become better and take on ideas from other coaches. And we're literally trying to set this up for you, and we're supplying the platform to do it, and we're giving it structure so you can every single other week, right? And every week when we put you in talking to different people, all pulling in the same direction, all got similar views, because that's why they're signed up with us and that kind of stuff, and they're all wanting to better themselves. So if you're a self-employed trainer then, and you don't have that support network that you can bounce off and talk shop, then get one. Like, it has to happen. Like, if it's a Facebook group, benefits like that, and just talking about it. Like, because I feel like the self-employed trainer will live on Instagram and Facebook, and that's how they do it. But talking to someone on the videos, like, it's just different gravy, I think.
And the good thing about the PT core is because it's for those which already are personal trainers, we got some that are just qualified, and some that have been in there for like newbies, 8-10 years, and it's good to get. You can learn from everyone. Yeah. And the structure that we have with is a little bit more challenging. It's easier for the level 2, level 3 because they're all going through at the exact same pace, and they're all starting from that. I don't have a qualification. With this, you've got different backgrounds, and that was one of the things I thought could be a challenge. But I think it's actually works out even better.
Well, we talk about it when obviously you did your teaching quals, and I've done teaching like stuff and certain lower level quals. And it's about like picking learners out that are going to accelerate learning within maybe the weaker individuals and stuff like that. They end up, in theory, teaching your content for you to the lesser individual, because we pinpoint learners within the course who, for example, we mentioned during the last at Telly, who is very switched on. Yeah. And she's very on it. And we'll be like, all right, what do you know about this? Because we're instructing a student to start to learn, and she's going to learn by reapplying and reteaching. And then the other students are more likely to learn from her than us, maybe. And they're listening, or like, they know that, I should know that, therefore they're kind of speaking. So it's like redirection of taught learning as well. We have to do that within the course. Believe it or not, me and Luke actually do teaching quals, so we know we should know how to teach a group going forwards, and we do that kind of stuff. But the supportive program, how the structure basically looks like is, especially on the PT core, we do literally a question. So we send out a little Google form, and the first 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes, depending on how many questions we get, will be just a Q&A on the content they've been going over. Just consumed over the last 2 weeks. And that is, Luke will send me the Google Doc like 5 minutes before, so I can look at it and see what answers I'm going to give. Generally just give my honest answer on the fly.
I think that's the best way though, isn't it? Rather than, and that shows that you know your stuff.
I should know the content.
Research,
I wrote my, all
we
of
did
that
actually
stuff.
just teach on that unit, so you should know.
I'm like, what did I say? So we go through that, and then we have activities which we get people to go into. It's usually 3s or 4s, and go and do together. So building that network and getting to know like-minded trainers. And then I see it on Instagram. They end up being good friends on Instagram, and they have a little bit of banter with each other, and they end up doing content together. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to come out of that.
Yeah. And they not only become good friends, but some of them start businesses together. And the other thing is going back to sort of self-employed. It's a lonely world. And if you're an in-person trainer and you've got other trainers in your gym, they are your competition. There's no way about it. They are your competition, because you've got a certain number of members, and they've got to pick out of 10 trainers, 5 trainers, 20 trainers in some cases in central London. But by having a global brand, I'm flexing, you've then got people that are not your direct competitors, that do have different backgrounds or different experiences, and you don't. There's no like, oh, if there was another trainer in your gym, they get selfish as well, don't they? Trainers be like, I don't want you to learn this, because then I'm not going to be better than you. And it's like, trust me, there's enough people in this world that even if you look at just activity levels or obesity levels, there's enough to go round. Like,
there's definitely enough.
Do not worry. And we'd rather be trainers than competing against Instagram influencers that have no qualification, no brain, and just a physique. So yeah, support program, big thing. We do it on Zoom, and that's just, I always say, I would rather you not learn anything than learn something and not apply it. I think that's more criminal. And again, we are in the personal training business. We deliver a service. So you can read as many books as you want, watch as many videos as you want, but the supported program activity gets you in small groups, so there's no pressure of, oh, if I mess it up. Like on the one where we had the Unit 2 client on board, and I said, give them your pre-consult form, and I want you to review it and see if there's any typos. I'm like, if you're going to make mistakes, make mistakes now in a secure environment and give feedback. So we've edited it. We got the final videos, we got the final PDFs. What did we use? Well, in the old days, I spent a large amount of money on the custom software. I won't say the number, but when I say large, it's large-ish. Not, well, I'll leave it open, because then people might be thinking 10K, and other people might be thinking 100K, 200, 300K.
I was thinking a couple £100.
Yeah, that's expensive. When you're a boy from South East London, that's expensive, mate. So we had a custom software. It sounded good. It wasn't good. So then we actually researched different platforms. So we ended up going with LearnWorld's platform, where we can basically upload create courses really quick. We can have different types of activities, whether it's quizzes, exams, videos, PDFs, ebooks. There's multiple different learning resources you can use. So once you've got that, we've then got to upload those to the software, which does take time. Then we're thinking about, at this point, even in the ideation phase, we're thinking, how much are we going to charge for this? And that's the big one, because price we'll talk about price in a bit, but then you've got to then create your payment plans. You've then got to then create the actual marketing course page, the systems. And luckily, LearnWorld, you can create the front end. When I say front end, I'm talking basically the page that they see, and the back end is once they've paid money and they've enrolled in that course. So the good thing about LearnWorld is you can have the front end and the back end. We created this course. We've gone through peer review. You've listened. If you listen to this point, you probably listened to part one. So even that in itself is long. This is a long process. You could shorten this down, but you reduce the quality.
If we did it again, it would be shorter.
Yeah, because again,
we've done all the processes. Yeah.
And we did, going back to the first SBS Academy in 2015. Don't get me wrong, like, you might be going, this is a lot, and you might have, I've commented about screen recordings. That's what it was, the first ever one. It was PowerPoint using not copyright-free images, recording a screen, not even having a camera, and probably just like a blue snowball. So at least there was a microphone. And then after that, that was our sort of minimal viable product. Once we had that, we then reinvested. The next time we created the website ourselves. It was multiple little plugins, all the design, everything was there. It was just, Tom, if you're teaching that lesson, create a PowerPoint, record your screen, try and have a microphone, make sure you're not in a busy area. That was like 1.0. Then we actually had Nat, and you mentioned Teddy as well about the design. Nat was going through a course, and she was a graphic designer. So Nat sent me over an email with like some of her doodles. And she's like, I could create the course like that. So it was step 2. But I didn't have enough money to have the whole module 1, 2, 3, 4 complete. Bearing in mind, we flew to Miami with Dr. Helms and Dr. Zerdos. Helms weren't a doctor then, but that's how long I've known him for. And we filmed in a Miami apartment. And I can remember waking up, going to the shower, and there's a dead mouse in the shower. Ugh. So yeah, So we basically rebranded module 1, module 2, and then we started green screening. And then version 3 was actually getting Helms and Zulos over, and for them to present on the illustrated version. So then we had that illustration, then we had that brand. And by that point, we kept reinvesting that money to go from a PowerPoint screen recording to then actually illustrations, green screen recording. And so it does evolve from that. So if you are looking at a thing, you're going, oh, I don't have the money for a videographer. I don't have the money for a designer. Neither did we in 2015. So again, it's looking at always, if you don't look back on your old content or your old products and cringe a little bit, then for me, it doesn't show evolution of your business or yourself. So publish it on LearnWell's, that carries everything. We didn't have time to promote it.
No, which is one of the, I think looking back, one of the stupidest things that we've done so far. But it was like, we wanted the product done, didn't we? It was kind of like, well, we got to start getting people through the door.
It's hard to market something that's not finished.
It's hard to market something without the finished product, because we're like, we don't really know what these people will have at the end, really. We do. We have the idea. We have everything that's kind of done-ish, but it was like still a process of like, I'm teaching the start of the course, but finishing the end of it. So my brain was like, going from this to this to this to this.
So that's when from previous experiences, and because we are a small team, all of your time and my time is going on creating the course. Gordon's time is going on editing the course. The designers are working on that, and you don't have the additional staffing resources and even monetary financial resources to be able to then focus on the promotion of it. And it's, as you said, it's really hard to promote something when it's not a finished article. So then that's when I hired an agency, and my thing was well, yeah, it's going to be expensive, but I wanted us to focus on doing what we do best, which was just creating the course, and then have an external agency. And it's the first time, and probably the last time, that I would ever hire someone outside of the business. And we launched, and bearing in mind in the old SBS Academy days, and this, you'll see the evolution of the podcast, and where we're still going through stuff, but it'll come out as we progress in the months and years of everything that I've learned, that Tom's learned as a business, and how it evolves. And promoted it, well, the agency promoted it, and we've gone from an academy that was open up every 6 months to be putting out podcasts, YouTube videos, blog posts, Instagram, Facebook, a lot of value to that market. But when we rebranded, it was do your level 2, level 3, that we don't actually agree with, but we're going to create it. Then it was new standards coming in, level 2, level 3. So all of our time, energy and effort, in short, went on to creating the PT core. So you don't have time to promote it. And this is me in a roundabout way saying you could have the best product in the world, but unless you promote it,
no one knows about it,
then you ain't going to get the sign-ups. Yeah. So promotion is a big component, and it's something that even when you're creating the course content, we say, like, if you're trying to watch a course and learn from someone, you ain't really going to learn from a YouTube fast-paced B-roll. But then if you want to promote a course, no one's actually going to watch a YouTube video because they're on YouTube. There's a different style and format for content. Yeah. So when looking back on the next course and stuff like that, it's going, well, we have to create specific content, organic content for social media, not trying to repurpose a course material, which is going to be, we want to keep your attention and for you to focus on a specific topic. So that's one of the things. So once during that creation phase and planning phase, and I think I did try to do this at a certain point, is you need to plan and batch and create. After, say, Tom, you finish the screen, I then go to you, Tom, I want you to then go like 5 ways to fix knee valgus or whatever it is, and creating it in that style and quickness for that social media platform. So there we have it. That's everything that went into the course. You now know a little bit more about PT Core, because we've obviously used that as a reference, because that's what we've gone through. So if you are a personal trainer and you've listened this far.
I guess just a perspective, because people are going to be like, gee, that's taken a long time. And so in terms of as a learner, how long do you think it is to go through it? Like in terms of actually screen time, watching every single lecture video? We need to total this up.
We'll total it up. I think it would be, if it was just watching the videos, 20 to 30 hours.
Yeah.
So like a lot.
It's a lot. And then, you've got some like tasks and stuff, and then
because we want you to then start building out your client onboarding systems, your coaching systems, your weekly check-in.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And then implementing, that's why we get 2 weeks between, a little reading week to go and implement and go do it. Yeah. So that's just a perspective of people who are like, this sounds like a lot of work. But your first course that you may put together for people to learn about, I don't know, your squat patterns or something like that, it doesn't have to be 30 hours long.
But that's why the good thing about being such a big course is we then created the screening clients, which basically is unit 3, and we created that as a screening clients micro course, which was just one unit for if you want to learn how to screen your clients, everything's within that unit. So it's a mini course in itself. Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing, and it's something we will take into incredible account next time.
Exactly.
In terms of a business standpoint.
So if you do want to find out more information, go over to ptcollective.com. You can find all of our courses on there. We have specialist courses. We have the PT Core. We have the online coaching blueprint. And we have something else we're working on, but it may be out, may not be out. Depends when you listen to this. Any final words, Tom?
No, not really. I hope that's kind of opened everybody's eyes of what kind of goes into course creation. It certainly did. And I was learning whilst doing. I've created workshops. I've done that kind of stuff before, and but I've never had to film every single time, script every single time, and I was still very raw to the process. Fortunately, I had the teaching capability, and I think Luke kind of pinned his hopes on probably if we were to hire again, there would be a teaching interview or a coaching interview, that kind of thing. How good you are on camera, that kind of thing. But
that was one of the things I said
you vaguely,
as well.
You
and because you had a podcast,
trusted me in the fact but at that time I'd probably done
and I asked
200
Dan,
hours of podcasts.
Knew Dan as well.
I think you hired through more association more than anything else as well, and the people I'd been around, and the fact I probably taught 200, 300, 400 hours worth of I don't know. But workshops.
Even then, trying to teach looking down a camera lens is a lot different.
It's different, especially because I am Captain Fidgeter, and if you've been to one of my workshops, I walk around the whole room to basically annoy people, because some people like having a fixed kind of bit of where they like the person to stand. Yeah. Like, I would like you being there so I can fixate on you, and I'm like, that's not going to happen. If like the slides are there, but I'm going to be everywhere. Yeah, I'm going to be right next to you.
I suppose my final point is there's a big difference between a seminar where you've got group interaction and actually an educational course where you've got so many more factors you've got to take into account.
Interaction's a lot easier. Mm-hmm. I will put that there because I have you kind of have nothing to go off.
To have that. It's only
that's why we needed the peer review. But I have nothing. I've got Gordon who's barely paying attention, the videographer behind the thing. And then that's about it. Nothing to go off, which is like, whereas in person, you've got all your students, all your people.
That instant feedback
that I can react to if I've missed anything or anything like that. Won't find out if I missed anything, will I? Ever. Unless I have to go back and watch stuff and I'll be like, oh yeah, we need to put that in. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, fine. But it'll work. It's always going to be expanding that course. So even if you're listening to that like this a year from now, chances are from ideation to creation to going again a year down the line, probably got some more stuff on it.
Yeah, and we don't just give you access for a year and go, now you've got to pay extra money to have the course. No, you have it for life, and any revisions we make to that, you also get those as well. Right, we'll call it time. Patrick's just turned up, and we'll see you next time. Or speak to you.